Hi, this is Joy at Red Pine Quilt Shop. Today we're talking about using digital transfer film transfers to embellish tea towels, t-shirts, sweatshirts, other items. DTFs, as they're abbreviated, are a fun way to embellish things. The nice thing about the digital transfer films is that you can see easily what they're going to look like on an item before you iron it on. They have beautiful colors in them. A lot of you maybe have worked with a Brother Scan and Cut machine or a Cricut machine in the past and have cut vinyl letters that you can iron onto items. And vinyl is another option for doing embellishing. The thing with vinyl is you don't get the brilliant colors, you don't get the variety of colors and the details that you get with DTFs. And the vinyl letters tend to be more raised. I think they add a little more bulk to the item. And the beautiful thing about the DTF transfers is that you end up with a very smooth feeling item. It doesn't have that raised feel like you see with the vinyl letters. And they're very easy to apply yourself at home if you just want to do a few things. If you're doing a lot of work with DTFs, you're going to want a heat press. A heat press is a huge device that you can apply pressure and heat. You can set temperatures very precisely. If you're going to do a lot of t-shirts or a lot of tea towels, that's the way to go. If you're doing just a few for yourself, you can absolutely do it with just your own iron at home. And we're going to talk a few tips and tricks about how to do that. So first thing, I have a lot of DTF samples in front of me that are smaller sizes that are designed to go on a tea towel. I would prepare my tea towel before I put a DTF on it, a heat transfer on it, because tea towels tend to shrink. Tea towels shrink at a much higher rate than quilting cottons. I always encourage people to pre-wash and pre-shrink their tea towels if they're doing any embellishing with fabric on it, and I would recommend the same thing with your DTFs. They tend to shrink at a fairly high rate because they're loosely woven. You want to make sure though that anytime that you're working with a DTF that you're not using anything that's going to stay in the garment. You don't want to use fabric softeners. Just wash it, rinse it really well. Run it through the iron. I usually, if I know I'm going to do a DTF on a tea towel, I don't even use soap. I just swish it in warm water. I don't really have any, and it's a clean tea towel at that point in time. I don't have any reason to need to wash it. I just want to wet it so I can run it through the dryer and shrink it. That way I'm not introducing any chemicals to the fabric that might interfere with the DTF adhering. Just soak it in warm water, throw it in the dryer, and get the shrink out of it first, though, before you put your DTF on. You want to make sure that you iron the item very well so that it's flat. Especially if you've just recently pre-washed it, you want to make sure there's not any moisture left in the garment before you iron your DTF on. So when you get ready to iron your DTF on, the company that we get our DTF transfers from suggests that you use a silicone mat underneath the item. So they suggest putting a silicone mat down on your ironing board before you press your item. And the reason for that is to keep the item from shifting while you're pressing. These silicone mats are tacky, so when you lay your tea towel or your t-shirt, whatever you're planning to press down on it, as you're pressing, it's not going to shift and move because it kind of sticks to that silicone mat. So putting that underneath is a good idea. I've also done these very successfully on my wool pressing mat because, again, it kind of sticks to the wool and I'm not going to have any shift happening in my tea towel or my t-shirt or whatever I'm attaching my DTF to. So put that underneath. Press this very well so that it is nice and smooth where you are going to apply your transfer. So the fun thing with these beautiful full color DTFs is that you can lay them down, you can see exactly what they're going to look like. If I laid this one down on the black, I would know right away that I was going to have issues there. but it looks beautiful on a white background. And what I do with these is I use my quilting ruler to figure out my placement. So I can measure in from each side, and I can see how far am I. I'm almost 7 inches here to the edge of the towel. I can check the other side. I am 7 inches there, so I can slide it back and forth just a tad to get it centered. I can also kind of butt that ruler up. This towel has a pre-sewn on trim. I can butt it up against that trim, and I can look and see, am I straight with my letters, and adjust my placement if I need to. And I can go this way as well. So if I know I want to be 1.5 inches from the tea towel, I can place my design very precisely there. So your quilting ruler works well to get your design centered. Now when you're ready to press these, depending on where you're getting your DTF, you will have different instructions. They'll have instructions for doing it with a heat press, and then they all will give you instructions for doing it with a home iron. Typically you're going to want to always color the transfer film. That's what the design is attached to. You're going to want to cover it when you press it with either parchment paper or a Teflon pressing sheet. But you never want to press directly on the transfer film, and you never want to press directly on a transfer that has been attached to something, because they will melt. So at this point I can take my iron and I would follow the directions with your DTF for the amount and length and temperature of the pressing that you want to do. I usually start in the middle and I work my way out. So I would go in the middle and work my way out. And then because irons have tiny little holes in the bottom, and you know there's going to be little spots here and there that they're not missing, I will, after I've done some up and down pressing, I will come back and I will do small circular motions to make sure that I'm getting heat throughout the entire design. I'm not missing those little holes on the bottom of my iron. Absolutely no steam. If you have an iron that is capable of steam, I would recommend you dump the water out first. You want to use a dry iron. After you set your design, these come in cool peel and hot peel. So you want to know what kind of DTF you're working with. The ones that I have are cool peel, so I need to step away and let this entirely cool down before I come back and I peel the transfer film away from the actual design itself. If this had been pressed and heat set when I peeled it away, the design would get left behind, and this plasticky kind of paper that it resides on would come away and leave it behind. At that point, you again want to put your parchment paper down. Remember, you can't press directly on top of a DTF, and press for a final heat set. And again, your DTF will give you directions on how long to do that final pressing step. So those are just some quick how-tos for working with DTFs. We have a lot of fun tea towels that we carry here at the shop that already have an interesting little bit of border trim on them. So a DTF added to it is really all you need to have a quick gift item. I love this one for Christmas. It looks great. Just popped on this towel. And it's so easy with these to audition them and see what are they going to look like on that design. It's a super fun and easy way to make some gift items, and you always know what you're going to get because you can check it out and see what it's going to look like before you press it on. They come in bigger ones like this one for t-shirts and sweatshirts, clothing items, back of a jacket, and then we have smaller ones as well for putting on tea towels and smaller items. So those are some quick how-tos for working with DTFs. Thanks for joining us today.